Hey guys, it's Tom here, and I'm back once again to talk about 3 albums, one from last year, 2 from this year, that I've been listening to recently, but I don't really feel as if I've listened to them enough, or I don't really know enough about them to do a review, or I'm just fucking lazy. Whatever you want to say. Alright, so let's just get straight into it. I don't know what I'm going to call this yet, probably something like album overview, and I'll do it every couple of weeks maybe. It's just for albums I've been listening to a little bit, but I don't feel as if I could review them very well. Anyways, first album on this list is an album by a hard rock, stoner rock. It doesn't really fit into a good category. It's a bit like the band Clutch, doesn't really fit well in its genre. But it's an album by Mammoth Mammoth called Hell's Likely. And it came out last year sometime, probably mid to late. Probably mid, I'm guessing. I saw it around Christmas time when I was doing some shopping in there's a big town about 30-40 miles away. And I saw it there, and it was cool looking. I thought, that looks very, very 70s hard rock, and I thought, I'm gonna go get it. So I got it, and I listened to it a couple of times, and I didn't really think much of it. But I saw it again today in my iTunes library, and I thought, I'll give it another listen. So I did. And I feel as if I kind of misjudged it first time, because maybe I wasn't really into that kind of music around that time, and I just kind of appreciate it now. So the next album on this list is an album which is trying to revive something, and this album kind of does that as well. It's trying to kind of revive that classic 70s kind of feel, that classic rock, which a lot of bands are doing. You know, Cadaver, their album came out last year, was very much in that kind of style. Also had stuff like, even stuff like Clutch and Orange Goblin. They're really just about getting that kind of 70s style rock. Graveyard is another good one as well. And just kind of bringing it back in a new style, adding things to it. This band very much does that, but they do go for the kind of southern rock, kind of heavy metal as well in there as well, and it just feels very heavy. There's a lot of very kind of like skull-crushing bass, and the bass drum on the drums. The drums are a bit weak. They're a bit boring, kind of generic rock drums, but the bass drum is just crushingly heavy, and it all adds up to this kind of like classic rock album that I think any rock fan will probably enjoy. There's a lot of catchy hits on it. Hell's Likely, the opening track, is very, very good, and yeah, there's a few kind of boring stuff as well, like, what's it called? I think I've written it down. Up All Night, Demons to Fight. Didn't do anything for me. It was very kind of, by that point in the album, I was just like, this is kind of the same. And this is kind of what happens with albums like that. Very good kind of scale to put them on if you want to kind of figure out where they kind of are. They're kind of heavier than some hard rock bands such as Priestess and Wolfmother, but they're not verging on being as heavy instrument-wise, you know, bass and that. They're not as heavy as some bands like The Sword and Orange Goblin, that have really, really just crushing bass lines, and the guitar tone is just heavy as hell. So if you're looking for that middle ground, this might be an album for you. The solos are great in it, the guitar tone is great in it. Apart from a lot of the album being boring, if you can get past that, a lot of the little finer stuff in the album is great. So yeah, go check it out if you want that kind of middle ground, heavy rock album. 6 out of 10. Right, so with the next album. Oh god, I'm gonna get hate for this. Right, next album on the list is Death by Fire, the new album from the new wave of classic heavy metal band. I think that's what they're terming it now. The new wave of British heavy metal revival, you know, genre that is Enforcer. Enforcer have been going strong for a few years now, and they have been joined by a lot of bands such as Cauldron, which is personally my favourite out of the whole thing. White Wizard, Goathorn, which was the original project that split off into Cauldron. As well as a lot of bands. I'm forgetting so many names right now. Oh, man. How am I forgetting them? I don't know. Anyways, yeah, the vocals on this album are great. They're super, super reminiscent of Cauldron vocals, and I don't know, it's definitely not the same guy, but they sound very, very similar. I was listening to this album and I thought, is this Cauldron? Is this Cauldron singer? I had to Google it to find out. I went to the Cauldron Facebook page to check who the vocalist was, because it sounds just like they sound equals. But it's a really classic kind of heavy metal vocal style, very soaring high vocals, but also they do have points in the album where it does kind of kick it down a bit. As I said, it's very new wave British heavy metal themed kind of era. The guitar riffs are very, very classic. The solos are just kind of that time period. They sound very, very classic and old, but they sort of have this new feel to them that if you listen to any of the bands in this genre, you'll find that a lot of the riffs and the solos sound quite the same. So yeah, it is quite a good revival album if that's what you're looking for. A lot of the album's very meh. It's kind of I mean, the songs don't really do much for me, and I feel like the only song on the album which did kind of anything for me was, I think it's called Silent Hour. Silent Hour, The Conjugation. I think that's how it's pronounced. The riffs are much meatier, it sounds a lot heavier, and the song is longer for one thing. I have a kind of beef with a lot of the crossover thrash metal does this as well. It has quite short songs and they're kind of meh. Whereas you get the longer song on this album is great, and it really kind of picks up the album towards the end, which is awesome. The whole album doesn't really do much for me though, and I think it's very just redone. It's a lot of what Enforcer's been doing already. It's just so reminiscent of their first album. As I said, it just reminds me of a lot of the new wave classic heavy metal bands. They're all trying to do this. They're all doing the high vocals and the same kind of riffs. They don't do anything different. I mean, if you listen to new wave British heavy metal bands like Praying Mantis, Grim Reaper, Demon, what Early Maiden, you'll see that they were all doing kind of different things at the time. They were all trying to develop their own kind of different sound, whereas I think White Wizard, Cauldron, Enforcer, Bullet, they all kind of do the same thing. Hatchet, I think, is kind of thrash, they soar in on the line, I think. But yeah, I think it's all kind of getting a bit samey now, and it's more just me nitpicking the genre rather than the actual album. But yeah, if you're into that sort of thing, you'll definitely like this album. I'll give it a 5 out of 10, and I think I have actually given it a... there you go, there's 5 people dying in fire, if you can see that down the bottom there. So I give it 5 emo scene kids dying in fire. That's my my rating for that album. Last album I want to talk about from this year as well, just like the Enforcer album. It's something I've been waiting for a while. I wanted to do a whole review on this one, but I went to do it and it just kind of felt as if I was not really giving the album enough thought, because it's kind of an album that doesn't... a lot of the songs are very sing-along-esque, and I'll get onto that in a minute, but the album is Signed and Sealed in Blood by Dropkick Murphys, kind of an Irish punk band from America somewhere. Boston, Massachusetts, somewhere like that, I think, probably. Don't kill me if that's wrong. The sound on this album is very much the same Dropkick Murphys sound that we've been hearing for the past few albums. I mean, it's very reminiscent of their last album, and you'll probably love this if you're a Dropkick Murphys fan. That's obvious by now. The songs are very, very much kind of more to the side of sing-along, kind of, big Irish sing-along pub songs, rather than the stuff we heard like in Pipe Bomber Lansdowne. It's less punk, more the simple beats and the simple rhythms throughout the album, and just the sing-along kind of lyrics with a lot of vocals going on at once, a lot of folk instruments over the top like violins, and it's a good album. Now I can't fault it for being anything other than that. I mean, there's a lot of kind of very much Irish folk tunes in there. Very, very catchy as well. I found myself listening to Rose Tattoo over and over before the album came out, and I thought it was a great, great song. Definitely my favourite on the album. The lyrics are very good. It kind of gets your blood pumping. The song before Rose Tattoo, Prisoner's song, is great as well, with the clapping in the beginning, gets you really just pumped up. It's very catchy, and it kind of is a theme throughout the whole album. I think the whole album you'll probably like just for the catchiness of the tunes. Towards the end there's a bit more stuff that's more reminiscent of Dropkick Murphys' older stuff, with a lot of punk style in there. And yeah, it does seem to have this running trend. I don't know if there's a story behind the album, but it's very much, the last few songs seem to have links to each other. Don't know if that was intended or not, if I'm just picking up on something that's not there. But yeah, if you're a Dropkick Murphys fan, if you're a punk fan or a folk fan, because this album has a lot of instruments going on, there's a lot of variety of sounds throughout the album. I feel a lot of people may disagree with me there, because people say it's a generic Irish punk, it's the same thing again and again and again. But they do have a lot of stuff in there that we didn't hear on the last album, like a lot more folk, a lot more violins, a lot more just classic folk sounds in there. But yeah, as I said, it's a bit more of the same, and a lot of people are going to disagree with what I've said because they think it's the same Dropkick Murphys sound over and over. It's not dead yet. They're not getting repetitive yet, I don't think, because there is a lot of differences between this album and the last album, which will, you pick up on. Hopefully get to see them live soon. I missed them on their last UK tour. That was not that long ago. It was this year, I think. So maybe next time. And a Flogging Molly Dropkick Murphys tour would be fucking amazing. If you're a fan of Irish punk, anything catchy, sing along, go check this album out. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. 7 Guinness pints out of 10. Anyways, that's the 3 albums I wanted to talk about today. Didn't really feel as if I could do a review for them, so I just kind of made this video. Anyways, yeah, next review probably going to be about March 25th, I believe, because I've ordered Clutch Space Rocker on vinyl, so that's going to be the next review, and I can review it when I listen to the vinyl rather than just judging it off the stuff that's been put out on the internet already. Yeah, anyways, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.